Happy Friday, folks. Welcome along to the podcast. This is Hellmouth Hotline. I am your host, Rodney Stewart, and we're doing a movie tonight as The Nun from 2018. And we're running through the Conjuring collection of movies, everything related to that there. And I'm doing them in the order they were released. I know there's like a chronological order sort of thing too, but I would rather do it in the actual releases than doing it any other way. So The Nun has popped up in most of the films up to this point. So I was looking forward to this movie in particular to find out more about The Nun. So and just judging from the money this movie made, everybody else was in the same boat. Like, I didn't follow the series whenever they come out in the cinema. Now that we're just about done with them, I'm doing them all now. So the budget for this movie, $22 million. The box office for this film is $366 million. So yeah, a money cow if ever there was one. So plot wise, spoilers if you haven't seen the movie, this is one of the ones out of the whole series that I would recommend you checking out yourself. And then by all means come back to this podcast afterwards. So in 1952 Romania, there's two Catholic nuns. They're living at a monastery, St. Carfa's, and they're attacked by an unseen evil force, and that's locked behind this door sort of thing. One nun is dragged in, killed, and the surviving nun, Sister Victoria, flees the demon, which appears as a nun, and she takes herself out to avoid being used as a vessel by the demon. So she puts a rope around her neck, does the one thing that you would expect a nun not to do, is to take herself out. So yeah, she wants to avoid being used as a vessel by the demon, so it's trapped there. Her body is discovered by Frenchie, a villager who brings supplies to the nuns. Upon learning of the incident, the Vatican sends Father Burke with Sister Irene, a nun in her early stages. She hasn't taken her vows yet to become a full-blown nun and commit herself to the order. They go to Romania to investigate, and the pair of them meet this guy Frenchie that found the dead nun and travel to the abbey. Sorry, I'm having a smoke when I'm recording this. Bad boy, don't be doing that. It's bad for your health. Kiss my ass. So they get to the abbey. They examine Victoria's body and take a key from her corpse. Thing is, she's found sitting up, but Frenchie says that's not how he left her. They then meet the abbess, who informs them that because the nuns observe silence during the night, they must return the next day. Frenchie decides to leave the convent while Father Burke and Sister Irene stay behind in the guest quarters. As Frenchie's leaving, he's attacked by a demonic entity in the form of Sister Victoria's corpse. Later that night, Burke is rescued by Irene after being lured by hallucinations of a boy he failed to save after a botched exorcism, and ends up getting buried alive in the graveyard by the demonic entity. Irene and Burke return to the abbey the next day. She manages to dig him up again. But they come back to the abbey the next day, but only Irene can enter, as it's you have to be part of the order to come into it, sort of thing, of the nuns and whatnot. She meets the other nuns and learns that they pray constantly, swapping shifts to keep the entity at bay. The abbey was built in the Dark Ages as a castle for the Duke of St. Carta, an influential aristocrat obsessed with the occult. The Duke summoned the demon through a rift in the catacombs, but was killed by Christian knights who sealed the rift with a vial filled with the blood of Christ and reclaimed the abbey to contain the evil. But the bombings during World War II reopened the rift, unleashing the entity. Through a book he saw and took after being buried alive, Burke identifies the demon as Valak and discovers the abbess, the woman in charge of the whole shebang here has been dead the whole time. Valak attacks Irene, who joins the nuns in prayer to ward it off. When she reunites with Burke and Frenchie, she discovers that none of the nuns she saw and talked with were real, and she had been praying alone. Sister Victoria had been the last nun in the abbey and had sacrificed herself to stop Valak from possessing her. So, yeah, that's a lot of stuff going on in this movie. Has to be said, like, I've skipped through the vast majority of the movie at this point, and we're only 6 minutes into this episode. Fear rising that Valak can only be stopped if they seal the rift again with the blood of Christ from the vial, as the knights did. The trio retrieves the vial with Victoria's key. Irene asks Burke to elevate her status to a professed nun, which he does. She wants to be, a full nun. If I'm going to go in here and take on this thing, I want to go on, I want to do my vows. Get it all done and dusted properly. We can hear hardcore, we'll kick its ass, sort of thing. So he does, and in the tunnel, she ends up getting possessed by Valak, but Frenchie smears the blood of Christ on her face, casting out the demon. Valak starts to drown her in the flooded chamber. Irene, who had kept some of Christ's blood from the vial in her mouth, spits it into the demon's face and banishing it into the rift, and the rift is sealed. The nun taken out in pretty short order at the end of the movie, has to be said. That was a bit of a downside to this film. I think they could have kept that section of the movie going a little bit longer than what they actually did. It's very swift and it's just the same in the prior movies. Whenever Valak was taken out, and is it the Conjuring 2? I want to say Conjuring 2, might be wrong, but that was the same. Whenever the nun actually appeared and they taking it out, banishing it back to hell, very, very quick. And this movie is no different, very, very quick as well. But the demon itself, the nun, is a very convincing, scary character. It's class. Frenchie resuscitates Irene and reveals that his name is Maurice. Unbeknownst to the others, Valak possessed Maurice during the attack, so they think the demon has been taken out and put back in, but it hasn't. They'll, stop watching the right hand because the left hand's doing all the work here. So you're always wondering in these movies how they're going to tie them together. It's like the horror version of the Marvel universe. It's like every movie's connected to the other movie, sort of a deal. And at the end of the movie, we skip to 20 years later at a university seminar, Wakefield, Massachusetts. Caroline Perrin watches as Ed and Lorraine Warren present footage of their attempt to exorcise a possessed older Maurice. Maurice grabs Lorraine, showing her the vision of Ed dying, which initiates the Warrens' investigation of the Perrin farmhouse haunting. So everything connects up at the end of the movie. Absolutely brilliant. Let me just have a little look here, see if we've got anything as far as the reception of this thing went. We already kind of covered it with the the budget there, $22 million, and it made back $366 million. So it is a juggernaut, this franchise at this point. So the Nun grossed 117.4 million in the United States and Canada, and 248.6 million in other territories, for a total of 366 million against the production budget 22 million, becoming the highest grossing film in the franchise until it was surpassed by The Conjuring Last Rites in 2025. Looking forward to seeing that one. Deadline Hollywood calculated the net profit of the film to be 155 million when factored together with expenses and revenues. That's the thing people don't think about whenever you get into the budget of a film. When someone says, say, a film is 20 million, everybody thinks, okay, you have to go to the box office, has to get 20 million back to cover the cost of this movie. That's not the case. You can almost double that. So the 20 million, you add an extra 20 million, you get almost the exact same budget of the movie is spent again in promotion to get the movie out there. So it has to at least double the break even on the budget. In the United States and Canada, The Nun was released alongside Peppermint and God Bless the Broken Road, and was originally projected to gross 32 to 37 million in its open weekend. By the week of its release, forecast had been increased to 36 to 45 million from 3,860. No, I'm wrong again. 3,876 theatres. It made 22.4 million on its first day, including 5.4 million from the Thursday night previews, both the highest such numbers for the Conjuring films. It went on to debut at 53.8 million, also making the best figure of the franchise, and became the first film in almost a month to finish ahead of Crazy Rich Asians at the box office. And other territories, it currently ranks as the highest grossing horror film of all time in 12 markets, including Indonesia, Brazil, Romania, the UAE, and the Philippines. The film was the highest grossing horror film of all time until it was surpassed by Insidious: The Red Door in 2023. Let me see here, critical response, we'll get into that as well here. Rotten Tomatoes, 24% of 206 critics reviews are positive, with an average rating of 4.4 out of 10. The website's consensus reads: The Nun boasts strong performances, spooky atmospherics, and a couple of decent set pieces, but its sins include inconsistent logic and narrative slackness. Well, that's fair. Metacritic, which uses the weighted average, assigned the film a score of 46 out of 100 based on 32 critics, indicating mixed to average reviews. Audiences polled by Cinema Score gave the film an average grade of C on an A to F scale, the lowest of the series. Ben Kenigsberg, I don't know if I said that right. It kind of sounds in my head like it could be right. This guy from the New York Times, let's just say, criticised the lack of consistent narrative logic. Donald Clark of the Irish Times wrote, to compare it to a ghost train would be to understate the narrative cohesion that habitually governs those seaside entertainments. That guy... where was he from? The Irish Times. Bit of a pompous ass. Matthew Rosa from Salon said, By overly relying on jump scares, the nun uses a mechanical approach towards instilling fear rather than a more profound understanding of terror. Writing for the AV Club, Katie Rife compared it to gothic horror by Mario Brava and the Hammer films, praising the giddiness but criticised the heavy-handed exposition and lack of suspense. The plugged-in review for the film summarised the spirituality evident in the film. Evil is real. The movie tells us, but so is God. Spiritual trappings are everywhere, and when in doubt or danger, you can't go wrong with a little prayer. Fair play. In her review of the film, published in the National Catholic Reporter, Rose Pacate, a nun belonging to the Daughters of St. Paul, stated that there are two Catholic theological aspects of the film that are accurate. One, that the devil exists, and the other, that Mary, the mother of Jesus, will show us the way. Another religious sister, Nicole Reich, stated in her review of the film published by Sci-Fi Wire that if Valak was a real demon, he would never be able to reveal himself while his sisters were in perpetual adoration because the Lord was present. That's fair as well now. But let me just see here. They're talking about a sequel here. I'm just going down through some of the stuff that I found here whenever I actually searched the movie. Talking about a sequel here. We'll get to that eventually, I'm sure, on the podcast. In August 2017, One discussed the possibility of a nun sequel and what its storyline might entail. I do know where potentially, if the nun works out, where the Nun 2 could lead and how it ties back to the Lorraine story that we have set up for the first two Conjurings and make it a full circle. In April 2019, it was announced by Peter Safran that a sequel was in development, and he stated there was a real fun storyline planned for the film, and commented there was inevitably another nun movie. Later that month, Akela Cooper signed on to the project as screenwriter, while Safran and James Wan will serve as producers. On April 26, 2022, Warner Brothers Pictures officially announced the movie as part of its upcoming slate for 2022 CinemaCon. The following day, it was announced that Michael Chavez will direct the film. Principal photography will begin April 29th, 2022. Bonnie Aarons was confirmed reprising her role as Valak. Awesome, fantastic. I had a good time with this movie. Though it is fair, some of those critical responses there we're talking about have been a little bit disjointed here and there. That's fair criticism that I do agree with, but that's one of these movies that you just want to get in there and get a wee scare. It's not the scariest movie you're ever going to see, but it's tasty. It's very good. I think that's going to do it for the episode, guys. Housekeeping. CoinsAgeMedia.com. Everything else that I'm doing, this isn't just the only thing I'm doing, this podcast. I'm running a few other things. It's all on the website there. There's a lot of stuff from a long time ago on there as well, past projects and that sort of thing. So hop over there for details of upcoming things. I've got a few things planned that I'm not going to give away until I actually do them. So the first vibes of that sort of thing will come out on the website before anywhere else, because my relationship with social media these days is I could quite easily do without it. And in all fairness, at this point, I am in two minds of whether or not I'm going to just shut down all my social medias other than the podcasts, the YouTube channels, and the TikTok. Instagram, as far when I talk social media, I'm thinking Facebook, Twitter /X, whatever you want to call it, Instagram, that sort of thing. But if it does go through, freaking Instagram's probably the only thing I'd probably keep. Like the rest of it is it's dog shit these days. Right, that's going to do it, guys. Stay safe. I will talk to you in the next episode. This has been a production of Coins Age Media. Thank you so much for listening.